Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
Тобто, на жаль, президент Трамп, з великою повагою до нього відносимося як до лідера.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says Donald Trump is living in a disinformation space created by Russia. He was speaking at a news conference where he also said he'd rejected the first draft of a rare earth minerals agreement with the US, saying it made no mention of the security guarantees Ukraine sought and demanded 50% of its minerals. Earlier, Trump said he was more confident of a Ukraine peace deal following talks with Russia and Saudi Arabia, from which Kyiv had been excluded. On Tuesday, the US and Russia agreed to appoint teams to start negotiating the end of the war in the first high-level talks between the two countries in almost 3 years. Afterwards, Trump said he was disappointed over Zelensky's complaints about being frozen out, suggesting Ukraine could have made a deal earlier.
People being killed at levels that you've rarely seen, not even close, since the Second World War. And I'm very disappointed. I hear that, they're upset about not having a seat. Well, they've had a seat for 3 years and a long time before that. This could have been settled very easily. Just a half-baked negotiator could have settled this years ago.
The former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro has been charged by the country's chief prosecutor with attempting a coup after he was defeated in the 2022 presidential election. The 69-year-old was handed 5 charges over the alleged bid to prevent his successor, President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, from taking office after a bitter election race. The charges include allegations that he planned to poison Lula and shoot dead Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes. Bolsonaro denies wrongdoing and says he is the victim of political persecution.
Elders have stated that the verdict forms reflect their individual true verdicts.
The rapper A$AP Rocky has been found not guilty of firing a gun at a former friend. A jury in Los Angeles acquitted the musician, whose real name is Rakim Mayers, on 2 felony assault charges that carry up to 24 years in prison.
Rakim Mayers, not guilty.
As the first not guilty verdict was read out on Tuesday, the court rang with screams and clapping. Mr. Mayers dived over a wooden barrier and hugged his family and Rihanna, his long-term partner, to embrace them. Mr. Mayers also hugged his lawyers and appeared to have tears in his eyes as the second not guilty verdict was read out. KFC, the fast food restaurant chain formerly known as Kentucky Fried Chicken, is moving its corporate headquarters in the US from Kentucky to Texas. Yum Brands said it will shift the office from Louisville to Plano, although KFC will keep some operations in Kentucky, including its KFC Foundation. The governor of Kentucky State said, "I am disappointed by this decision and believe the company's founder would be too." In recent years, many companies have relocated to Texas, attracted by the state's lower taxes and business-friendly policies.
Another look at the variety of Karolina Muchova.
Britain's former #1 tennis champion Emma Raducanu was visibly upset during a match at the Dubai Tennis Championships after being approached by a man displaying fixated behaviour.
And let's hope that Raducanu isn't in trouble here. You always worry when she goes to the umpire's chair. It may be because it's a little bit wet out there behind the baseline.
The 22-year-old was in tears as she went to the umpire's chair after the second game of her rain-delayed second-round match on Tuesday.
What is going on, but it doesn't look good, does it, for Raducanu? Appears to be in tears here.
The man was later removed from the tennis court by security. The WTA added it was actively working with Raducanu to ensure her well-being and will provide any necessary support. And Australian authorities are euthanizing around 90 false killer whales which survived a mass stranding on a remote beach in Tasmania. A team of experts at the site said complex conditions had made it impossible to save them. They are part of a pod of 157 whales that had beached near Arthur River in the island's northwest. The rest had died shortly after the stranding. Tasmania has seen a series of mass whale strandings in recent years, including the country's worst ever in 2020, but false killer whales haven't mass stranded there in over 50 years. False killer whales are technically one of the world's largest dolphin species. They can grow up to 6 meters and weigh 1.5 tons. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.